What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Sunday, July the 7th, fresh off the heels of Money in the Bank, on the way to an NXT PLE today. Talk about a time to be a wrestling fan. It doesn't get any better. I've got two shows today. Here's the first of two. We're going to be breaking down Money in the Bank, and I've got a sweet crew with me. Let's start up north of the border, and I'm talking the Canadian-U.S. border in Regina, Canada, with the very man that reviewed last night's show, our head of reviewing, Coby Galenzoski.
Well, I've definitely got about a lot of heat from last night, from this morning, of course, when I woke up and read the comments. So I had to make sure my air conditioner was on right by my legs, just to cool myself down. Of course, I wrote the show. It was, I thought, top to bottom, one of my favorite pay-per-views this year. Of course, that's personal preference at this point, and my review is unbiased and it's great. I was able to write that. That is at the website. Of course, I'll be writing Heat Waves tonight as well. Oh. And like you said, it's a tremendous time to be a wrestling fan. These weekends are back in wrestling because they were back before COVID, or they were before COVID, and now they're back at this point.
I love this.
Have a WWE and an NXT show on the same weekend.
As a lifelong Chicago Cubs fan, in the words of Ernie Banks, let's play two. One of my favorite sayings of all time. Absolutely. Already in the comments, we've got a Morris Elijah with, oh, it's this guy, LOL. Clearly stirred up some controversy last night. I'm stoked. We will get into that. Don't you worry. I'm going to send this one now across the pond, though, to Scotland. Back once again, 2 days in a row. It's always good to see my good friend Soul. How are you on this fine? It's got to be evening for you.
Yeah, it's just 8 p.m. turning just now. Yeah, Money in the Bank happened last night, or some people on the internet have been calling it botching the bank, whatever's happened on that card. I don't know. I don't think I'm in the minority because I've seen it online who really didn't jive with this show. It wasn't for me. I think it's the weakest WWE show of the entire year. I think while the wrestling element of it was good, there was a lot of poor decisions made on that card, in my point of view, and I think a lot of others' point of view. Things I really don't agree with, things I thought were okay, and then things that make just complete no and utter sense. I'm sure we'll get into that, but let's continue on because I could probably go on for hours and hours of what I really didn't like.
No worries. We are going to get into it. Absolutely. And it's awesome because we've got a sweet panel, and it's one of those things where we're going to have a range of opinions. And speaking of ranges of opinions, the man who I believe I really negatively affected last night at the loss of one of his heroes, a good friend of mine, Jordy. How are you on this fine Sunday?
I feel like all the color has been taken from my life.
All around me are familiar faces.
You're talking about a guy who walked out at his wedding to John Cena's theme music. I've been a lifelong fan of his. Even when people turned on him, when The Rock came back, I stayed by his side. So it was tough to watch, tough to hear. It was something I knew has been coming for a while. But I'm just here to say, yeah. So for the small fee of $2 a month, if you donate to Jordy's Cena fund, then you can ship me out, and I'm gonna hit every date that I can of that farewell tour. But I tell you what, WWE. Well, let me get back in colour for a second. Why is the shirt not available in the UK yet? I've been looking, I've been refreshing. I'm ready to give you money. I've got money in my hand, ready to hand it over to you. And
you can't see it.
I can't see it.
They don't like us.
Well,
they're not letting you see it, and I do believe that that's unfair. If you want a t-shirt that says you can't see me anymore after this, with a door on the back that's not open, it's closed. The door's closed. There was some finality in that. Talk about a symbolism. We're going to get to that segment. Don't y'all worry. Stay tuned. Absolutely. But our opening segment, let's talk about the opening match from last night. The men's Money in the Bank ladder match. This was I thought fun. What you expect out of a Money in the Bank match. We had big spots. I enjoyed it. I'm glad that we did not end up with Yeet in the Bank. I thought that would have been too predictable, despite the fact that I think the briefcase would have sold $1 billion. I like what we got. I liked the way it went down. I liked Drew getting the victory and then continuing to have his big moments snatched right out from underneath him, snatched, just taken away. And we'll talk about that part of it later. But right now, he gets the win in the Money in the Bank match. Coby, you rated the show. Let's start with you. How did you feel about the match in general? Do you think this compared well to previous men's Money in the Bank ladder matches? Middle of the road, or would you call it bottom tier if we were doing like we're not doing a tier list, but just generally speaking, comparatively speaking to the rest of them?
Right. And I mean, that is the thing. And I do think it wasn't bottom of the barrel. It wasn't, oh, this is one of the worst Money in the Bank ladder matches. It wasn't. We've had worse. We've had ones where they've had to work around Omos. Like that, those aren't fun to me. And even then, they were still enjoyable. Regardless, this was, I thought, a really good opener. Of course, it wasn't to the level of past classic Money in the Bank matches, but there was a lot of good stuff. I like, and I mean, when we're talking about the ratings, there's hot crowd. There weren't botches. I mean, people weren't no selling high spots. Like the Gable belly to LA Knight took LA Knight out of the match. We saw Gable literally fall flat on his face and then get speared. That took him out of the match. Psychology-wise, everything made sense. It looked good. Things didn't look bad at any point. Obviously, I didn't like. There wasn't too much of a story. Of course, this was Money in the Bank, just a Money in the Bank ladder match, and that's exactly what it was. Do I think it was the perfect ending? No, I don't necessarily think so either. But I do think there were enough really good spots. Like we saw the LA Knight neck breaker. We saw the Andrade backflip, the Andrade leg drop, another Andrade sunset flip that, well, he had 3 highlights, and that's what he's done before in past Money in the Banks as well. And he was the highlight man.
2022 is what I was going to mention. That's the only reason I did the cut to this one is right. I was at the casino ladder match, All Out 22. Yeah. For the chip, he did the exact same sunset flip powerbomb spot onto the ladder. I was like deja vu. I'm like, I've seen this before up close. Like this is
the other one was
spot.
either.
I'm not knocking that. Like there's no reason.
He's already. He did it in WWE also. It was either Money in the Bank 18 or 19.
When it's one of those high degree of difficulty spots that he makes look clean and safe, but still violent, it strikes the perfect medium. I have no issue with that spot in particular.
Exactly.
Now, Soul. This one's going to be a little different as I toss this to you, because obviously your guy from your homeland, Scotland, Drew, does pick up the victory. We're going to talk about what happens later. I know I already did mention it, but for now, let's just focus on this match in particular. Did you see anything in this one? I know when we started the show, you mentioned that it was not your favorite PLE of the year, WWE-wise. Not even close, right? But did you see some high points, at least in this men's Money in the Bank match? Or was this kind of the start where you were like, I don't know if this is the night for WWE?
So I know people are really going to think it's the AEW guy he's hating. I'll say right here and right now on the record that my favorite WWE show of the year is Backlash, and it's probably in my top 5 of the year. I love that show. I think it's a great show, and I highly recommend people to go watch that back. This Money in the Bank's purpose, right, is to elevate higher mid-carders or low main event guys into the main event stratosphere. That's what its purpose is, right? Drew winning immediately told me, and I think everyone else, what was happening with the rest of this show. And that's not good, in my opinion. I can get so much into this more when we get into the World Heavyweight Championship match later down the line, which I will. But talking about the individuals in this, like, out of all of them, to my knowledge, Carmelo Hayes and Andrade are the only ones who have won singles titles. Andrade NXT and Speed, Carmelo Hayes North American and NXT, right? Why are you giving this to a guy who has been multi-time WWE champion? And yes, I understand it's for the Punk spot, and I'll get into that later, but I honestly think it's bloody pointless, and you could have done it in a completely different way that didn't detriment the concept of Money in the Bank. Jey Uso winning would have been very good with how over he is and would have pushed him into the main event stratosphere, and I honestly think it's what they should have done. LA Knight, somebody who's been hot for the longest time since he switched from Max Dupree. And him still not holding a singles title as well is an absolute embarrassment in my mind. I think it's absolutely stupid booking, not capitalizing on that when you have championships that are just sitting in people's pools or podcasts and not doing jack. And Chad Gable, somebody who switched his character this year and became instantly over in a heel atmosphere. And now he's moved away from the Intercontinental. Why not put the Stratosphere on him and go for the Rocket with him? I just think that this Money in the Bank it will be a flash and everything. Oh, it's cool, but it's not one that people are going to go watch back and think about. It will just be known as the one that was a setup. It was a setup for other people's feud and was wasted. So that's where I'll end there, because I will get into a lot more when we get into the World Heavyweight Championship match.
100%, and that's fair. And I do hear where you're coming from on some of that, especially when it comes to the telegraphing of what's going to happen later. It was pretty clear that was the case. We've had a lot of Money in the Bank matches where, since the outset of this PLE, like since it started, where especially on the women's side, same night cash-ins. As soon as Drew won, you're like, up, there's our same night cash-in. They flipped it. We're not going to get that on the women's side. We're going to get it on the men's side tonight. And I just had my eyes peeled immediately in that world title match, to your point. And telegraphing that result does make things a little bit difficult. I don't think it made the match bad per se. I still thought it was a fine ladder match for what it was. Later in the show, I had more of a sour taste, and that's where I really can actually agree with you on something for sure. Now, for the sake of convenience, Jordy, we've got one really liked, one didn't like. So if you can most medium like this of the panelists, I'm kidding.
Well, no, to be fair, I am kind of on the fence between the two opinions about it, because I think you both have very valid points. Wrestling wise, there wasn't that much to fault. When you look back, I think it was a fun match. It was a good opening match. Where I think they did fumble the bag is that the amount of kind of ways that this match could have been, we could have had more fun with it. There could have been so many more, even just one interference. Like, I'm so shocked that Logan didn't show up and cost LA Knight the match and feed into their feud, because I was convinced that was going to happen. That was just one thing. Because if that's not going to happen, then I do share Soul's frustration with LA Knight, because give him the briefcase if you're just going to kind of waste it. But what I will say is, I was very vocal in the last year about Priest and his briefcase and how it kind of hindered him a little bit. I thought, all well and good saying that. Now he's the world champion, so humble pie. But I felt like at points there was kind of a shadow hanging over him when he was a tag title, because he had the briefcase. With the two champions that we've got, I'm pretty sure Gunther is going to end up with that belt. I can just see it round him, whether he's going to beat Damien first time, whether it's going to be Finn costing Damien, whether it's going to be something we see further down the line, perhaps in Berlin. I think Gunther will get that belt, and when he gets it, I don't think he's going to drop it anytime soon, and I don't think they're going to want to take the belt off Cody anytime soon. So from a business perspective and a booking perspective, to get it done, cashed, and out of the way in one night, I have to say I do understand it. In the current situation that we're in the current climate that we're in, people don't like it when people cash in on belts that aren't the world title belts. Otherwise, that would maybe be an option, but I think that would rub people the wrong way as well. One thing I also will say, though, and this is maybe more towards a heavyweight match, which we will talk about later, is that I don't think that this feud needed this, man. The last time we saw Punk was bloody on the floor after what Drew had done to him. I don't think he needed to ruin this cash-in. Maybe ruin a cash-in further down the line, maybe ruin it at SummerSlam, but so soon, it's almost was a bit too predictable. As soon as you saw that Drew got it, it was like, well, he's not going to be the champion, and that's where I have my issues. But
and
the match
don't worry, we're going to get to that part of the equation later too, by the way. But yeah, I love what you said there. It is. I'm actually in agreement with you on it. It's between the two, right? It's not. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. It was an entertaining match. It looks worse in hindsight than it did in the present. That'd be the best way I could describe it.
Yes, yeah, I agree. At the time, I didn't really have, apart from agreeing with what you said, Coby, about the finish. Thought it could have had a bit more of a special finish, a bit more of an exciting finish, but at the time didn't have too much to say about it. But now, in hindsight, looking back, it kind of does raise a few more question marks, I think is the nicest way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great way to put it. And we got some comments here. Kafkaske in the comments, back-to-back days too. Thank you. You've had great comments this whole time, but this is an interesting one. He said, Money in the Bank is for elevating mid-card superstars. The Royal Rumble is an opportunity for established stars. That actually, I mean, I don't think it's that straight lines, but
it's a valid point.
To me, it's a valid point, and it makes a lot of sense. I have no issue with that sentiment. And then we've also got Mart76, good friend of the show as well, with Punk could have cost Drew the Money in the Bank, and they could have given the briefcase to someone else that could have benefited more from it long term. I think that's a fair assessment, Mart. Absolutely. That one doesn't bug me in the least. And then Kafkaske is back here with, I mean, Jay was determined to win this briefcase for over a month now. Drew only decided to go after it a week after Clash. That's not fair. Life's not fair. I will say that. I agree with a lot of your comments there, Kafkaske, but life is not fair.
Well, you pretty much said the whole life sucks, and then you die.
And then you die. And speaking of that, let's talk about our next segment. Let's talk about Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker. Boy, did I enjoy this match. This is an incredible, well-wrestled Intercontinental title match. But man, was I stunned by that result. I get nobody kicks out of that haluva kick, but this is Braun Breaker. This was a big build. This is a big early opportunity. Sami Zayn is not Gunther. And I love Sami Zayn. He's one of my absolute favorite wrestlers on the roster. But he's not Gunther. For him to go over on Breaker was an interesting choice in my eyes. I don't know who decided Braun's not ready, but it dang sure wasn't me, Coby. I want to get your thoughts on this one and the match in general, but also Breaker and the IC title made a heck of a lot of sense. Am I wrong?
I mean, that's the thing. And I said it on the prediction show, and I said a lot of this makes sense. I can see this happen. He looked good with it when he held the IC title up. And yes, the curse of holding it before you win it did actually stay true in this case. But here I am looking at the match that made me the guy with the flawless predictions for this show. It was between me and Ben Allison with one match. He said Breaker, I said Zayn, and I had 5 for 5. Of course, I'm going to love a match that does. I'm kidding. Regardless, like you said, this was exactly
winners win.
It was a well wrestled match from bell to bell. Of course, it's hard to sit there and say there's a bad atmosphere because there wasn't. They're for Sami Zayn. They're cheering for Sami Zayn. They booed Braun Breaker. They barked for Braun Breaker. There wasn't issues with the atmosphere. There weren't noticeable botches. And if I'm breaking this down, I don't know where you can say there was issues in this match. I do think things made sense. We're working with Braun Breaker's this big, heavy guy who can be athletic and do the speeding clotheslines and do the diving clothesline to the announce table, which is great to see. And he can do all these spots, and things make sense. To have Braun Breaker not get fooled by the same spear counter that they did on Raw, where Sami jumped him. Sami jumped him again, but Braun was able to stop himself. Everything made sense in this match. The finish is almost reliant to Sami Zayn's entire story. He overcame Gunther. He overcame two men in one match. He overcame Chad Gable. There's almost an overarching theme with Sami's championship reign that, I mean, I felt Sami Zayn wasn't going to win, wasn't going to lose, and he didn't lose. At this point in time, I don't know what's next for Braun Breaker, but I think that's the interesting part. They gave him a new theme. It's obvious that he's going to be a main player for 20 years if he's in the business for 20 more years. It is very obvious that I don't think this result shoots his momentum in the foot. I don't think it does. I don't have an issue with it, but I do. I was shocked with one haluva kick being the result, but I do think there's more. there's more. There's more we can do with it. There's him kicking out of one in a couple months.
Yep.
There's always room to build upon the first match of possibly many.
Totally. And I love this comment, by the way, we've got here, Coby, because not a lot of people take the time to show love. And Kafkaski has been awesome on these shows recently, but he said, that's why you were the ratings man. You know, you're wrestling. Absolutely. Coby does. He developed the whole system. When it comes to our ratings, it's the exact opposite of many other sites and their ratings. There's a literal system we have to go by. There's criteria. It's an entire document. It's unbelievable, the details, and it's linked in all of the articles. You can check it out at the bottom of the articles. Coby Galenzoski, that guy on the center of the screen, is the one who came up with that system and deserves full credit for it. It is really cool. It is the fairest rating system in wrestling as far as we're concerned, and the most objective and not subjective ratings of wrestling matches you're going to find on the internet. Go check out all of those articles, including last night's ratings. No doubt about it. Okay. Before we move on to the next one, though, speaking of ratings and things like that, I've got to do a little bit of an ad read here for us, my friends. Let's talk about, speaking of friends, our friends over at Next Level. You got to head over to nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic. All of our content is across all of our platforms linked, and it's all in one place. Real easy, real simple, no gimmicks, tons of giveaways, a thriving wrestling community as far as content's concerned. Go over there. It's absolutely free. You will love it, and you can find all of our stuff absolutely in one place. Super convenient. Check it out. Shout out Next Level. Let's, though, get into the big one here. The big subject of the day. It used to be tie clips, but today we're talking sweatbands. We have a retirement tour. So John Cena gets down there. He's looking good. He's got his new shirt on. He's going with red this time. Down the stretch, he's elected to go with red. I respect it. We had a pre-show discussion about whether it's crayons or crayons. He's basically got a crayon box of t-shirts over the course of his career. If you look back, it's pretty unbelievable. And like, I'm talking the one that comes with the sharpener. He's like red orange away from a 64 box. But I'm just saying, the guy comes out, basically pump fakes me on retiring. I thought maybe like he's injured, so he's announcing his retirement right this second. No. He's announcing his retirement tour. Look, guys, I've loved this for a long time, and now you've got a year and a half, and you just kept extending it. It's ridiculous, and it's hilarious. I'm a lifelong Cena fan, but it's comedy. Retirement tour, that, whatever. Talk to me about it, Jordy. Defend this for me.
Fine speech. Firstly, I want to kick off by saying he didn't pump fake anybody that can read, Clark. He literally has 2025 on the top.
That's what I'm saying.
So, he didn't pump fake anybody because he hadn't spoke by that point, and it had said in the things that, I guess, if you could say the last time is now. But he's not going to come out with a full range of merch just for one appearance to retire. So, if you thought that he was going to retire, he's been so vocal about it. You said you're a Cena guy. If you're a Cena guy and you've seen what he's been doing in the media in the past 12 months, I would say, he's said himself it's coming to an end. And when it does, you will all know about it. And I personally, as a fan as well, I could go way back into why I think this guy is one of the greatest entertainers of all time, in and out of the ring. What he's done with Make-A-Wish in terms of that side of it out the ring, but he's giving us all, me included, an opportunity to go and see him one last time, and that's not something that comes around very often in wrestling. You quite often, as Triple H said in the post event press conference, not a lot of people get to call their shot when and how they want to retire, but John has earned that. Some people it's sudden, some people it's injury, some people it just goes quiet and they don't maybe go out the way they want to go out, or maybe they stay too long. But announcing this, giving everybody that opportunity to, even like myself, living in a country that isn't the US, so now I'm thinking, right, okay, I've got probably 12 months. I'm going to start saving some money because I will get an opportunity. He will come somewhere fairly close to me. He said he's going to go around the world, 30 to 40 dates. I honestly think that this is the best way that he can do it. And I understand it might be a little bit corny. Yes, it might be a little bit like a farewell tour, but I do think we as fans deserve that. I think to be given, and I'm not under the impression it's going to be cheap. It's going to be a huge chunk of change to get these tickets when it's one of Cena's dates. Now he's announced that he's only doing a handful, but if you're that big of a fan, and not everybody can afford it, I appreciate that, but if you can and you can afford to start putting that money away, he's giving you that opportunity to do it. And yeah, it's a sad day for wrestling. I think, love him or hate him, what he's done for the game is unbelievable. And I'm not under the impression as well, like I've said to you guys in the chat, there was comments before by Trish and Triple H that said tonight's going to change the landscape of wrestling. I'm not under the impression or the arrogance that John Cena retiring changes the entire landscape of pro wrestling. It doesn't. Maybe you can say it does of WWE for sure, but of pro wrestling it does not. But yeah, I'm sad, but also I'm going to go through the 7 stages of grief, bro. You know what it's like.
Don't be too nice, Jordy, because I am really fully leaning into this John Cena I can't stand him gimmick. I'm telling you right now, it's a joke. Unless he's going to win that IC title to be the Grand Slam champ, it makes no sense. And not only that, it's a bold-faced lie. Yeah, he's going to retire in 25. You're telling me in 4 years, when he starts doing stem cells and gets that hair transplant finally, he's not going to come back for another one-off?
I don't think he will. I don't think he will. Don't attack hairlines.
He's
Come
not
on,
really done. I was going to get, no, dude, I was looking at doctors. I thought we could go together, me and Cena. We could recover together.
No,
I was thinking we both get the procedure done.
I think he will. I think there's so many stories to be told. I think when you look at all these greats, Clark, all due respect to you, my guy, but I'm going to listen to CM Punk. I'm going to listen to Triple H. I'm going to listen to Randy Orton when it comes to this because they know him and they've been in the ring with him. You didn't like the tie clips. Now you're picking on the sweatbands. And I'm wearing the sweatbands right now. And you give me the opportunity and I will take that. I will order a tie clip because I don't own one. But I will wear one.
Okay, wait a minute. Maybe the tie clips thing isn't dead yet. If you don't have any tie clips either, we got to start making fun of them again. What was I thinking? I don't know why I would move on to sweatbands when the tie clip joke is not dead yet.
Because you can't see me.
I can't even see you. Yeah, with
exactly.
the sweatbands on, dude, you're not even on the show right now. It's ridiculous.
You're in the minority here, Clark. We honestly...
No, dude, the whole internet agreed with me. Didn't you see the comments section? They all were like, yeah, Clark, great point.
I've never seen a comment section agree so much, so in synergy.
All of them. Yeah, they were all just like, Clark, what a champion of industry. I can't believe you came up with that. What was I? What is he going to say next?
Daily Clark L was my favorite.
Who should be John Cena's last opponent? Oh, it's got to be a ghost.
I'll be
so you can't see either of them. Maybe me. Actually, that's what I'm building towards. Little do people know, Mr. SummerSlam versus Mr. Summertime. John Cena, Clark Taylor, SummerSlam 25. Let's go. Put it on a poster. I'm ready to rock. I'll squash him like Brock. Did not see that one coming, by the way. That just happened. I don't know.
Leave the freestyle into Cena.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Not your bag. Leave that to him.
Doctor of Thugonomics, that John. No, I'm kidding. Let's talk though about, speaking of, we've got all explosive talking points on today's show. This is awesome. This is where it's going to get really, really dicey. We thought it was Cena. No. Damian Priest, Seth Rollins, and then becomes a triple threat. Drew McIntyre, which I actually loved that aspect that he cashed in before. None of this makes sense if he cashes in after the results of the match, but it makes it no DQ. Run-in's a non-issue. And I do like that happened. It was a fatal error by Drew. They got taken advantage of, and they pulled the rug out from under him again. I know you don't have the black and white filter that you need for this, Soul, but I want to give you the opportunity and the space to open up to this fan base and air your grievances about the results of this one last night.
So before I begin, the actual Damian Priest and Seth Rollins part, minus the very big botch that happened in that match, it was a very decent and solid match. Everything after that, completely honest, was utter bullshit. Complete to utter Right. So the fact that Drew cashes in and is beaten up by CM Punk for a third time, a man who's not cleared to wrestle, by the way, according to the press conference, makes Drew look like the biggest idiot on this planet. And I don't know how anyone could take him seriously. The fact that we've wasted Money in the Bank on this storyline, and now we've got that advance and Seth and Punk advance, but not the World Heavyweight Champion, who should be the top guy of Raw, who just stood up, looked angry, and walked away while everyone was focusing on the other stuff going on. You've made your champion look like a second-rate fiddle to these players right here. I think it's absolutely stupid. The fact is that they could have easily not involved Money in the Bank in this and just said, hey, it's Priest and Seth at Money in the Bank. Drew, okay, cool. You saw me get screwed at Clash. Rematch clause. Triple threat. Boom. You don't have to waste Money in the Bank, and you can give it to somebody who's actually worthy of it. And as well, this whole thing is stupid. Like the fact that Drew left Clash of the Castle and said, I quit Raw, and literally 4 days later on SmackDown, then comes back, beats up Punk, steals the bracelet, says some funny things, and then is beaten up again. Like, this is a guy who, in his first televised match, was injured. Like, if Punk loses the match whenever it happens healthy, then that makes no sense. He was stronger injured than he's strong as a fully healthy guy. Like, what the hell is going on here? Like, it's complete utter farce. It's just so stupid in my mind, and I don't like it. It's a good story on basis, but it's like what they're doing with some long-term stories in WWE. They drag it out and add more complex stuff to it. Keep it simple. You should have had, like, look, I wouldn't have done Money in the Bank for Drew. Would not have done it. I think it's absolutely stupid and absolutely the wrong direction to go with it. Do the rematch clause. Have Drew win it, parade around as a champion, let Punk stay off and heal, because God forbid what happens if one of these angles he slips and breaks his arm or tears an ACL or something like that. Then you're really screwed because you've built this whole storyline and you've not let the guy stay home and heal. That's something that, hey, if the company wants to take a risk on that, go ahead, take a risk. It's your risk at the end of the day. And if they want to do that, fine. But the fact is that they are shotgunning this and having everything going off at 100 miles per hour, not letting Drew quit the WWE and then just turn up randomly on SmackDown, which has no effect in it. You should have had him stay away for a good amount of time. And now Punk is literally just lurking around and doing whatever he wants. Like, what's Adam Pearce doing? Like, oh, you're letting Punk and Drew have a farce around the locker room. You're letting the Wyatt Six dome people in the head and disrupt the lighting crew. It's like, what the hell are you doing here, man? Like, what kind of control do you have over your brand? I've got more problems with this card, which I will get to in my next topic as well. But the fact is that this was complete and utter farce.
And so I hate to do this to you, but this is a strategic camera cut. Jordy, I got to get your thoughts on it.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Hey, quick costume change. I'm busting everyone's chops today. I'm coming for everyone because somebody mentioned my guy's Cena's name in vain. And when you do that, heel Jordy comes out. So I am on Team Punk about this, and I'll tell you for why. Drew, do what you want, and I will be on your team from now until the end of time. I love Drew McIntyre and always will. However, don't mention someone's dog, brother. When you brought Larry into it, I had to switch teams. When you mention someone's dog and you bring that into it, what they do to you from that point onwards, that is on you, my friend. Also, Drew, you know you've got Punk on your case, right? You know he's there. You know he's lingering. So what do? You broadcast to the whole world. Oh, I'm going to do it at Money in the Bank, everyone. Money in the Bank. If you catch that, if I win, Money in the Bank. I'm going to do it on the night. What's CM Punk going to do? Of course he's going to show up. Like, that's where my issue is with that storytelling. It was way too obvious, and this feud, it was red hot. It didn't need it. Those that have played WWE 2K24 or 2K games on GM mode, sometimes when you're brewing a rivalry, you brew it for too long, and it goes cold. And I feel like they're in that territory, because I don't know how we could care more about this. Like I say, he brought up his dog, off limits. Like, AJ, fine. She's wrestled. Don't bring up Larry. But then he left Punk in the state. He left him. It's red hot. It is red hot. And I think as well, everybody said to me, it doesn't make sense that Punk would have cost him in the Money in the Bank match. He should have cost him when he cost him. But Punk, the man of the people, the man of the locker room, this face Punk, surely should have gone, no, I'm going to cost him the briefcase because somebody else should have that opportunity. That's what this version of CM Punk would have done. So that's, again, I don't get that. I don't get that argument of, oh no, he should have cost him it there. It's like, no, because give someone else that opportunity, take him out of the ladder match, which is already no disqualification. Few issues with it. Can't lie. What happened with the Falcon Arrow? Did Damien kick out? Didn't he kick out?
To be honest, okay. By the way, I saw this on that one. I don't think he kicked out, but he was gassed up on that top rope. And
also,
if you notice,
though, the lights went up. That's what really threw me off.
So bizarre.
I think the production crew messed up. They were meant to hit Drew's music at that point or something, I bet.
I think so too, because I feel like everyone looked that way and it was like, he ain't there. He's looking for a big Scottish man and he's not there yet. But yeah, I think production had a couple of issues last night in general, to be honest, starting with the pre-show.
Yes.
The package with the wrong audio and stuff. So
bizarre.
Something fell off last night.
100%. We got another comment from Kafkaska. He said, 2 things I hate in the PLA was Jay not winning and no Larry. I think the real rivalry, by the way, is Larry versus Braun Breaker, Bark versus Bite. I am in. Sign me up. Let me know. Put it on the dotted line. Put it on a pay-per-view. So I'm just putting you back on there because I just wanted to. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that to you.
I hate this pay-per-view. It's stupid.
Coby, obviously, you rated it. Talk to me about that world title match, the cash-in, CM Punk, all of it. Give me your thoughts on it.
If I'm isolating that one botch, that Falcon Arrow, that point where clearly he didn't kick out, Triple H said it, he didn't kick out. And on the press conference, he said he didn't kick out, and I got to talk to that referee about what he saw that no one else did. And I think that there is that type of line. Yes, the kind of kayfabe answer is referee's discretion. It's the referee's decision's final. If they want to go that route, they do. And I think, but if I'm thinking about everything else about this match, I thought this was Damien's best match since Bad Bunny. Like, I thought that highly about this match because I thought it was really good. I thought there was a lot of really good striking. There was a lot of really good counters. There was a lot of good near falls. Seeing the superplex into multiple counters, it was great. There's not much I can complain about in this match that doesn't revolve around that spot where the kick out didn't happen. And then if I'm looking at it from the standpoint of what CM Punk did, it's tough because CM Punk said it himself. He is going to make sure Drew McIntyre can never win a single world championship ever again. And I don't believe that to be correct in the slightest. He'll win one in however long. But at the end of the day, if I'm taking the choices of him ruining the Money in the Bank or him ruining this match, it makes more sense for this match to be ruined because, like he said, he's not going to let Drew McIntyre win another world title. The Money in the Bank, if we're talking about kayfabe and Punk was there and Drew lost, did Punk show up for no reason? Well, Punk can just laugh at him backstage. And then it's like, oh, you said you were going to win. You didn't. There's no repercussions of that in that sense. Drew McIntyre getting doing the cash in, basically doing it he telegraphed it himself that saying, I'm going to win the Money in the Bank and I'm going to cash in that night. This is on Drew McIntyre. Mm-hmm. And to talk about what Adam Pearce is doing, it is breaking news. It is official, like Adam Pearce says. He has said he's fined them both.
Suspended.
Storyline. He suspended Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, suspended Drew indefinitely. Yeah.
Suspended Drew indefinitely for his actions because he did elbow him. And that while Clark was waiting for a Cena attack, the Drew McIntyre press conference stuff was by far almost the best part of the press conference / post show. seeing Drew McIntyre so angry and so just flaming. The fact that Wade Barrett almost has the best moment of his career by defending Adam Pearce and trying to get Drew McIntyre to not screw it up his own career himself. I thought that was electric. That was enjoyable. I can't not praise the work that was done in that sense.
Cobe, to your point, that was the highlight of the post show, and to me, it was actually the highlight of the night for Drew. Like in a weird way, it's odd to say that considering he won the Money in the Bank, right? Like he won the briefcase. The moment of the night was actually the post show with Adam Pearce and with Wade Barrett. But speaking of moments of the night, we had a moment of the night. It's Tiffy time. It is finally Tiffy time. You know what time it is. It's Tiffy time. I've been ready for it for ages. She's that dang good. Here's the only problem. I've got a weird feeling. Soul was less than satisfied with this one as well. So I got to ask you about this women's Money in the Bank match. Did you have an issue with the winner or just the execution of the match itself?
Actually, this was my match of the night. I loved this. I thought it was amazing.
Fair,
I thought
absolutely.
No, I'm not joking. This was my match of the night. The women absolutely.
I'm in agreement.
And I thought the whole kind of balance between Chelsea or Tiffy was great. Minus Zoe Stark's spot, she came back with it with the bit with Io, which was absolutely phenomenal. All the women absolutely killed it. Here's my problem though, not with that match, but with the card itself. It's too short, right? It needs to be longer. It needs another 2 matches on it. Why was A-Town Down Under versus DIY not on this? Why was Selena Vega versus Liv Morgan not on this? Why the hell has Logan Paul, who's held the United States Championship for 258 days, only defended the belt twice since he's won it? Like, it's so stupid that WWE we might get like mid-card women's titles, right? What's going to happen then? Are we going to have so many titles and continue with these 5-show pay-per-views that not enough stuff's going to get on the card when you're going to introduce more stuff? That's not going to balance itself out. We're going to need to have things a bit more longer. And honestly, I have no problem with it. There's a demand for WWE. People want to consume more WWE product. So you might as well just give them more of what they want, especially if you're giving these high ticket prices and you're going to a show that lasts the same amount of time as a Raw and it's costing more. That's not fair, I don't think, on fans. And as well, you can build things up from this, right? You know, Logan Paul, put him and LA Knight on the card, that builds. You could put New Day versus AOP, that builds the stuff with Karrion Kross. Where are people who are not getting showcased on these? Like, I interviewed Dijak, right? Dijak was like, Crave had nothing for me. Put him in a feud with somebody like Karrion Kross or Odyssey Jones, who's been sitting in catering, eating the dessert table for the last 6 months. Like, there's people sitting there doing jack. Tegan Knox, Jack. Baron Corbin, in a qualifying match for Money in the Bank, goes back to catering, does Jack. Giovanni Vinci, part of Imperium, one of the most popular tag teams associated with Gunther, breaks up, drafted to SmackDown, and he's done nothing. And like, there's stuff as well with Speed, right? Andrade, he's the Speed champion. You wouldn't know because he didn't come out with a belt or he wasn't advertised it. It's your own product. Why are you not advertising it on your own card? I know. Look, I get it's a Twitter thing. I get it's a Twitter exclusivity deal, right? But it's your own product. You're not catering to any TV deals on your PLEs, right? Maybe Peacock. I don't know. I'm not a business guy. You see my betting record. It's pretty crap. But look, it's your own product. You should be able to advertise your own stuff on it. Then what's the point on it than being a competitor prize or congratulations, you showed up for work. Here's a title that looks like a speedometer. Like, they need to increase the number of matches they're going to introduce on that with the amount of people they've got working, or you might as well send them back to NXT to let them do stuff there and thrive. Like, where's Tamina? Like, why is there no more women matches on this? Where's Tamina?
Yes,
where's Natalia?
I could not agree more.
Like there's people just sitting doing nothing. And the fact that people have complained, like, we want more women's matches. We want more women's matches. Yes, I get Dynamite does the one women's match. And look, they could do more. They should have to do more. But they are having a good workload. The Owens Hart Women's Tournament, Willow and Mariah May is going to kill it. And they've had more women matches on Forbidden Door as well. But you can't say all that and complain about that company and TNA as well when you've got WWE, the biggest company in the world, putting on one women's Money in the Bank match when they've got a women's champion, they've got another women's champion. Yes, Bayley was in a Clash of the Castle, but you showcase the other belt. And if you're going to introduce more women's titles in the mid-card title, you don't want them just to be a consolation prize for people who have turned up for work. You want them to actually show up and do storylines. Like, they could have done a rematch clause for Unholy Union and Jade and Bianca.
Would have made sense.
You have opportunities to add more for these cards to make them more worthy.
No, I think that's a fair assessment. So it's true. It's one of those things because WWE's been cruising, I think, all year when it comes to PLEs in a good way, right? It's been a lot of positives that I think, I'm not saying you get a little bit like too comfortable, right? But I think that is part of the issue when it comes to that. But I hear you. Like, you're mentioning a lot of things, especially when it comes to adding the women's mid-card titles. I love what they've done with it on NXT, and that's a different product than the main roster. It is. But the execution's been really solid there. To your point, if they get the execution wrong on the main roster on that and do it formulaically, like same old stuff, it's going to feel like that. And we're not going to like it. We're going to reject that. That is a scary prospect. It's one of those that I think, based on what you just said, we're going to look back in 6 months and go, dang, Soul had a point there, right? It's not necessarily right now where it's going to pay off, like right this second, right? You're not sure, but it's, if they mess this up, right, when it comes to that kind of extra stuff and they continue to do things like this that we complain about, that can snowball. We've seen it with multiple companies. We've seen it with WWE in the past. It happened to WWE for a long period of time, right? Like, there's precedent set on, oh, the product's great. Oh no, it gets stale. We love it. We don't. We love it. We don't. Right. And I think it was beautiful the way you broke that down when it comes to, I was really hyped for Tiffany Stratton, and this is an interesting tidbit that I will add. I was watching Busted Open this week, or listening to, and Greg Gagne was on, who trained Tiffany Stratton, and he slipped. And I'm wondering now if he did it on purpose, and he called her Tiffany Stratus. He was the trainer. This is Vern Gagne's son. Greg Gagne was her trainer. He called her Tiffany Stratus twice. And now, at the time, I was like, what is he doing? Like, this is ridiculous, right? He's got his prize pupil here in a top spot in WWE. He's calling her Tiffany Stratus. I'm wondering if he knew something we didn't. And that was just a little nugget that he dropped. Old school pro wrestler, like, hey, why don't you check out this Toodles, Tiffany and Trish segment? Because Tiffany and Trish is enticing, right?
100%.
I'm 100%. All over that match.
Yeah.
And the comparisons make a lot of sense. There are a lot of similarities as far as just the star power is concerned and the style is concerned, all of it, right? So I'm excited about that one. That, I think, was one of the biggest positives that came out of it, was actually that segment, and Tiffany winning. I'm a big
I think as well, to be fair, I think WWE have always done a lot better of having a fair share of male and female matches. I think last night was a bit of an anomaly, in all honesty, that and I don't know whether Cena's retirement pushed Liv and Zelina off the card.
Very interesting.
Because
that is a great
mentioned
point.
Last night that they came about it late to the decision that they were going to do it now, and Peacemaker gave him a weekend off, and the reason they came to the decision was because they thought this is going to get out if we don't pull the trigger soon. So it's a shame as well if that's the case, because I think that Liv and Zelina is a PLE worthy match. I think we can both throw down and put on a show. But I agree. I thought I was like, why are we only getting one women's match when we've got two belts and a roster full of talent? I agree that it did seem a little bit off, but I don't think it's something that we will continue to see. I
don't watch the show, by the way, but is there another season of the Pacemaker coming out or whatever?
Season 2 is filming just now.
The Pacemaker. I'm not biting into that. I'm not biting into
I'm sorry, I had to. It was low hanging fruit. My bad. Let's get into the Bloodline versus Cody and the Alphabet Soup, the main event. We've got RKO and Cody teaming up against the Bloodline. I can't wait. This match was gonna be great. Oh man, we didn't get anything special other than a Bloodline beatdown. It's 6-man.
Yeah. Where was that Roman Reigns return, Allison?
This was a low light for me. I don't like burying stuff other than John Cena and Cody, obviously. So this is the perfect double whammy. I can do it right now. What in the world were we thinking with this main event? Like, what in the wide world of sports was the plan here? Does Solo look better than Jacob Fatu? No. Did somebody miss a low blow that wasn't even in the match? Yes, very much so.
Tongaloa.
Absolutely missed. How do you miss a low blow?
Hey, that's something that you've got to ask KO.
I mean, that is like...
No, he straight up socked Tama Tonga.
I feel bad.
Twice.
Yeah, I think I counted more like maybe that was a receipt shots in this match than I've seen in a WWE main
Small
event
target, maybe.
in a decade. Coby, you rated it. What were your thoughts on the match? But what do we? Why? Explain. Somebody explain.
This is the tough part. Is this was the main event, and looking at the result, looking what they're doing, knowing what it is, because we undoubtedly can sit here and say the face of the WWE is Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes being in this main event in this spot makes sense. You know why? Because he got pinned. And to end the show with the face of your company, the top champion, however you want to describe it, being pinned, it makes sense why that's in the main event. Now, I do agree that there's a weird scenario because we saw the ref bumps and we saw Jacob Fatu do that, not running, I guess it was kind of a running splash, but he drove the ref into the steps. That, to me, is a move that should be taking someone out. That should be a way to write Kevin Owens off for a few weeks. A way to injure Cody Rhodes' neck so he has to sell it. Whatever. That should be a way to... That should be a way to drive a story in any direction that you want to take it. And the ref got up in 3 minutes and was able to make that count. That, to me, was brought up by Clark, and it's like, yeah, I get it. I thought the thing was I thought the build was great. You have the tight psychology, you have them working on Kevin, the crowd getting behind Kevin. You have everything in this match that is successful and done well, and I can't sit here and complain about many things other than
the ref bump.
Those two whiffs, the ref spot with Jacob Fatu.
He got up from two ref bumps. One that was really violent. One that a referee should not be able to stand up from. He should not be able to count until tomorrow. This morning, he's regaining the ability to count, remembers his middle name, and then he gets his birthday by the afternoon. After a shot like that, that's right. That's what we need. And that's what it should have been, at least in my eyes. Soul, do me a huge favor. Just bury this one for me.
With pleasure. This shouldn't have been the main event. If anything, the women's match or the World Heavyweight Championship should have been the main event. Solo Sikoa, as I've said before, I think it was last night's daily, I was bringing up the point of he's not been really established. And now Cody Rhodes, who has survived, look at the Mania Sunday thing. He survived a spear, throat poke, super kicks, guillotine, to now lose to a simple throat poke to Solo Sikoa is weird power scaling in my mind. You have Solo Sikoa pinned, the face of your company, the guy who's being the representation of the biggest enterprise for the WWE with revenue and all that. A guy who, looking at his cage match profile, was losing in DQ matches to Jey Uso less than 2 months ago. I don't get that at all. And the fact is that Jacob Fatu, a guy who's been in the company for what, less than a shake, dude's outshine everybody on that match. I want to see Jacob Fatu as the tribal chief. I just want to see Solo Sikoa go back into his enforcer role. Have the GOD, the one who missed the groin punch, just be carnies or something like that. The Jacob Fatu is the one I want to see more of. I don't want to see more of Solo. I don't give two rats behind about him. I'm pretty much done. I want to see more of Jacob. I want to see what he can do. I like his ferocity. The thing with Randy Orton, Randy did his plant thing, stood up, did his whole thing, and Jacob just stopped and went, "You what, mate?" And I was like, oh, damn, I want to see more of that. That's something cool I want to see. Where are we going to go from this now? Because what, SummerSlam next? Is it going to be Cody Rhodes versus Solo? Because Solo technically got the pin, even though Randy Orton's been giving them Viper eyes to Cody, like he's last piece of salmon at the counter. Like, come on now. Like, so we're going to go from Solo, which Cody will beat, because we all know where this is all going. As I've said before, it's going to Rockamania 41. So he's going to beat Solo. Then Bad Blood might beat Orton, or I don't know the scheduling. So maybe it's Bash in Berlin, which might just be Gunther, or maybe he'll do a tag match, GOD versus Randy and Cody, and that's when Randy will turn and go all Viper and mid-2000s ripping urinals off the wall and face planting on people. Cool. I just don't think this was... It didn't do what I think the creative team wanted, and that was make Solo look intimidating as the next credible threat, more than the final boss who's sitting in the wing in his actor chair getting his head polished from Moana 2.
You gotta love a good Moana joke. So you gotta love a good Moana joke. Every time, nothing. It lands. It lands. That's all I'm saying. I'm actually in complete agreement. This made no sense. I don't get it. I don't like it. I never liked it, other than, obviously, I never get tired of seeing Cody get pinned. Jordy, did you enjoy anything about this? And can you explain to me why they did it?
Mate, if I could explain to you why they did it, I wouldn't be sat here. I don't know. I'd be working for WWE. It was crazy to me. It really was. And you guys know how much I love Cody. And it isn't because he got pinned or anything like that. I think it makes sense that they take the loss. I agree with that decision. My issue is completely with it being booked last and almost building, like, you book that last. That's the only match that's got nothing on the line. Like, literally every other match has got something on the line, whether it be a briefcase, whether it be a belt. Only match with nothing on the line. Kind of feels like it's a match that you know is building towards something bigger. That's not a main event. I don't care if Cody gets pinned. I don't care if he's the face of the company and you want to end on him getting pinned. When we come away from this event, everyone's talking about Cena retiring. That's fact. No one's talking about whether Cody got pinned or not, like, apart from the fact that we're annoyed about how it happened and the way it went down. I just think as well, you've got a world title match literally thrown in the mid card, not even opening, thrown in the mid card that had a cash in and an interference, and it was Seth who was returning. It was his first match back after Mania. Why is that not the main event? Fair enough, maybe not the Money in the Bank ones when I was growing up, well, back in my day, but when I was growing up, Royal Rumble would be main event. If it was the Royal Rumble, Money in the Bank would be main event if it was Money in the Bank. However, I understand now with there being a male and a female match, it's not as easy because which one do you put as the main event, and then you kind of splitting hairs. So I get that they don't make a main event anymore. And also Sammy in Canada defending against Bron Breakker.
Yep.
Again, that could be a main event.
Easy.
The only one that I would have looked at on there and gone, that's not the main event, was that Bloodline tag match. It really didn't make sense to me unless someone big is coming back. Like, I was watching it to the point and I was thinking, even if Jimmy comes back, I'm gonna be underwhelmed. Which is sad, and I love Jimmy.
I thought the only route, to your point, was it had to be Estrada as the new wise man.
Yeah.
It had to be Estrada as the new wise man or Hikuleo.
Yeah.
I think those were the two choices.
Roman. You know what I mean?
Roman would have been, that's wishful thinking, but yes.
Like, The Rock, Roman.
The one thing they did say regarding Roman is they explained that in the men's Money in the Bank that Jey Uso wanted to be there for the burial of Sika.
Yeah.
And Roman very much was.
That's fair. I didn't think about that.
Probably speaking at that, and there was actually a video going around.
Yeah, I didn't think
of
about
Roman Reigns being at the funeral doing there.
Yeah,
doing to make us all feel
Roman was never in that position to do this.
Absolutely no issues. I'm in this situation. I feel like I should call him Joe. I have no issues with Joe in that situation.
Okay, wait. By the way,
it's booking it last. That was my only issue. It's nothing to do with Roman and where he was. It's why book that last. I don't get it.
I'm with you 100%. We are
Cody.
so against the clock. I'm so sorry to rush everybody. It has been such a fun show. We could go a second hour if we wanted to. Here's the good news, though. Bobby Petito's looking forward to watching NXT Heatwave. Watch that. But then immediately following, me, Drizzy Shad, will be on a special edition of Off the Air covering NXT Heatwave. So if you're not tired of us yet, rejoin us here in a few hours. I hope you had a good time. On behalf of me, Clark, Coby, Soul, and Jordy, thank you so much. If you haven't already smashed the like button, please do. It means the world to us. We appreciate your support. And thank you, everybody in the comments. It's been a blast. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your Sunday. And we'll talk to everybody soon.